It feels like you can get your credit scores anywhere these days. Random websites, card statements, budgeting apps, heck, even your dog might bark out a few numbers. It's true. Credit Karma isn't the only place you can find them. But we actually do more with your scores to help you find your next financial opportunity. Like a more rewarding credit card, a game plan that helps you pay down debt faster, or a personal loan to help you save more on interest payments each month. Cha-ching! The possibilities are kinda endless. Download Intuit Credit Karma today to get started.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. The holidays are here, and you know what that means. It's time to get your friends and family the gifts they deserve. Take the stress out of shopping with Amazon's great deals and low prices on a huge range of items from toys to tech and much more. Whoever you're gifting for, Amazon has great prices on everything you need this holiday season. Shop early holiday deals now.
Hi everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Psych Mom Show. Today I'm going to talk about what I see as red flags in a second marriage and how you can, think about this so that you do not get into the same problems or different bad problems in your second marriage as you do in your first marriage. And before that, I must tell you to subscribe. Most recent subscriber episode was the 2 components of a happy marriage. I thought that one was pretty interesting. And there's over 175 others at this point. And if you like these and you find them instructive and a good source of your personal growth and development, well, then you ought to want to hear all of them. Okay, so in a second marriage, obviously, for most people, you've had the children you're going to have, and you are meeting in midlife or afterwards, at least the people that are listening to me. And so at that point, you do not need to really think about certain things that you thought about at first. So I talk about this all the time, that in the first marriage, some people want like the yin to their yang, and like if they're an introvert, then they want an extrovert because they think that, that'll be better for their children to have both types of people. And it ends up, of course, that they're not compatible with that person. Or they want somebody who, like a guy might want a woman that stays home with the kids. Or a woman might want a guy who makes a lot of money. Both of those are totally adaptive, like that's having resources, being good with children and focusing on them. These are totally evolutionarily accurate. That's what people would want, many people. But it doesn't matter anymore. Because you're not going to be having children with this person, and they have to be good for your existing children, which I'll get to in a second, but that is not like the primary reason that you're together. What is the primary reason that you're together? It's compatibility. So, you like to do the same things, you like to be a good companion, etc. So red flags are that the person does not agree with you on really what's important in life. So you should not ever have a second marriage where you guys do not share values. Like if you think that it's very important to have sex in your marriage, then you need to find somebody who also thinks that and you guys talk about it. If you think that your old age is going to be basically focused around grandkids, then you have to talk with somebody about that. They talk about that all the time on the show, The Golden Bachelorette. This is their second time around. They're older than most of the people that listen to me. She's 61. And a lot of the guys, they range from like 60 to 70, I guess. And a lot of them talk about being family-oriented. She's family-oriented. They're family-oriented. And so this is known that if they get together, then most of what they do is going to be family oriented, right? Because they share the same values. So it's not important anymore. A lot of things that used to be important. For example, looks. Like, there's people who were super picky about looks in their first marriage, and now they're not. Like, there's guys that basically only wanted to date a girl who's like a head turner, and that marriage didn't work out. And so now they're going to be with somebody that they're more compatible with, still attracted to, but doesn't have to be the same level of stunning. And of course, wouldn't be, right? Because the first woman was in her 20s, the next woman's in her 40s or what have you. Point being that, and also the money. The money is really not important for a lot of people. Now, of course, if your value is spending a lot of money, then shit, you got to get somebody who wants to spend a lot of money, and it's that's going to be really interesting, right? If to really sit down, hopefully you do this after listening to this, if you're single and dating, and think about what your values are. Because there are some women and some men, well, definitely some men, because they are more frequently making the money still, that really prioritize spending, and I see it. I see a lot of them in my clients, people that love to travel and they love to get all the new things and they love the cars and all of these things. Well, if that is what you really want to do, is kind of enjoy in the way that is meaningful to you, the money that you made, then you got to find somebody else who likes to spend. Ironically, I see just as many people that are frustrated with a partner who doesn't want to spend as people who are frustrated with a partner who does want to spend. So that's on both sides. If you really think that this time of your life is when you're going to enjoy the fruits of your labor and the other person you feel like is miserly, that may have been adaptive to have, somebody who was a saver in your first marriage, but it's no longer adaptive. You've out-earned that problem. You don't want to be incompatible. So a red flag would be that you have these deeper discussions on values where you feel like you're trying to convince them of something, and you should not be trying to convince anybody of your values in a second marriage, right? You should not be trying to convince a woman that sex is important, or a man that sex is important, because a lot of women are in low libido marriages and leave where he has low libido. That should not be something that you're trying to convince. Now, another thing that's a super big red flag is closed-mindedness. You are in a second marriage. There's all these moving parts, right? Your kids may not be thrilled with you with this person. You may have to be flexible around holidays. You may still be paying child support. There's just you may not be able to move for a long time, until the kids are out of the house and what have you, because they're splitting time. If you have somebody who thinks that things only should go one way and cannot be flexible and roll with all of the moving parts that may be part of your life, that's a super big red flag. So, for example, somebody who says, well, every Christmas we have to go to celebrate Christmas in this exact way that I've always done, and we can't do it a different day. We can't do it the day before. We can't do it anything. Even if your custody schedule is different than mine, everything just has to go my way. Well, how's that going to be for your life? That's going to be very, very difficult. And another red flag, which you should know if you listen to my podcast, besides closed-mindedness, but related to closed-mindedness, is kind of an inability to understand that people age and people change. So while at first, a lot of guys, they start dating this woman, they're like, oh, everything's great. We're having all this sex. I never had sex in my other marriage like this, right? And yeah, they're having all the sex because she's in the honeymoon stage. And she says that she only has sex, that she didn't have sex with her ex-husband over time because he turned into an asshole. And now this is what her true personality is, and she's going to be like this forever. Bullshit, man. What? If you get to 40, 50 years old and you don't understand that, over time drive attenuates, then that's a pretty big red flag. If you think that you're blaming the entire reason that anything happened on just one person, then, that's a red flag. That is another red flag that I'm going to say, is when a person says that they did nothing wrong in their previous marriage. But this red flag, while we're still on this one, is the aging and the stage of life, and I am what I am and I never change, and I can only now be my true self with you because we're in the honeymoon stage, but without saying that last part. So somebody that says, yeah, this is great, and over time, I'm sure that things will calm down, we won't be having sex 3 times a day anymore, but I still, it's still important to me. That is a normal thing to say, but somebody who says, oh no, now I'm my true self. I wasn't able to be my true self with that bastard, but now it's different with you. That's very scary. That's somebody who thinks like a child, who thinks that everything's all about this perfect magical love and doesn't think, I'm a 50-year-old woman. Am I really going to want to keep doing this all the time? No, obviously not, what percent of cases did I look up that people have sex every day? I think it's 5% of marriages, and that includes all ages, including newlyweds. So let's be real. And the same thing with a guy. So there's guys who are like, oh yeah, I'm working out now. I'm in the best shape of my life, and this is going to be how I am literally forever. And I am going to be playing 3 hours of racquetball and 5 hours of golf, and everything's going to be around my workout schedule, and I just never will age ever. It's a narcissism, in either gender. It's a childlike narcissism not to understand that life is going to change and you're going to change and you're going to grow. Or I'm going to work forever. I'm going to love working. I love working, so I'm going to just work forever. That'll never change. No, nobody, literally, nobody feels like that, over time. The way that you feel about your job at 40 is not going to be the way you feel about your job at 60. And if it is, you're a real unicorn, and the odds are it's better to be with somebody who thinks of themselves as not such a unicorn, because that usually goes along with a self-absorption and magical thinking. Now, the next one is just very key. If they see no reason due to them that their last marriage failed, right? Everything was due to the spouse. Blame the spouse. Blame the spouse. I see this happen with, quote, abuse, which could mean anything. It could just mean two people yelling at each other. I've heard be emotional abuse. Substance abuse. Again, often actually two people are drinking a lot, but just one of them is pigeonholed as the alcoholic. Not every situation, but I'm just telling you what I see, to be straight with you. And so many things. Like, she was depressed and I did everything. That's why it ended. Really? That's what she would say too? Like, the whole problem was that she was depressed? Or he cheated and that was it. That's why it ended. Infidelity is a big one for this. Yeah, and what happened before that? Of course it's bad that he cheated on you. Of course, it's bad if he cheated, it's bad if she cheated, whatever. What else happened, though? What's the entire context of the marriage? It's not just that somebody cheated, right? There was a lot of conflict, probably, and disappointment and resentment and what have you that went to that. And honestly, even if they just cheated out of nowhere, were you a perfect person in the first marriage? No, because nobody's a perfect person. Literally, nobody's a perfect person. And if you don't understand why you're not a perfect person and how you contributed to the problems in your first marriage, and you've not done some at least introspection about it, and you don't have a narrative that even includes you and your actions in why the marriage didn't work out, that is a really bad sign. So the other ones are bad signs. Those are red flags. This one is like a fucking day glow red flag. It's like 7 red flags all in one. If the whole reason that the previous marriage went bad was the ex, you are going to be next. That person is a black and white thinker. And as soon as they're out of the honeymoon stage with you, you're going to turn into the bad guy, because this person thinks about things like a good guy and a bad guy. They can't be the bad guy. So guess who it's going to be? When the bloom is off the rose, it's going to be you. This is why I have all these posts and podcasts, like a post like beware of somebody who's always being mistreated by exes. Because they aren't, they are doing some of that bad behavior too. Nobody can have a dramatic relationship with themselves. So when somebody's always in dramatic bad relationships and they never understand that this is a pattern that they contribute to, that is a huge, huge red flag. Somebody's going to have to be the bad guy. It could be your children. It could be your ex. It could be you. It's probably going to be you too. It could be their boss, their friends. There's always going to be some drama, because this is a person that never learned how to say, I am also a person who contributes to interpersonal relationships. If there is a problem, I've co-created a problem and I need to think about how I need to change. So this is a person that never learned accountability, and watch out, because if you're somebody who listens to this podcast, definitionally, I'm a straight shooter. There's a lot of tough love. And in this podcast is a lot of entreaties to self-examine, right? And to think about your own role. What's your own role? And if you've been doing a lot of that, and maybe even going to therapy, hopefully, and your own individual work, reading, all sorts of stuff, then in the honeymoon stage, it's I guess this person one day, maybe they'll open up their mind to this. Or you may even be drinking the Kool-Aid because you're so hyped up on dopamine and adrenaline and oxytocin. Oh, her ex-husband sounds like he was all the problem and he was such an asshole and I'll never be an asshole like that. Yeah. Spoiler alert. Yes, you will be thought of very similar to that, because the ex was not such an asshole. That's when you really know that you have growth as a person, is when you could think, whatever the ex thinks about my partner is probably pretty accurate, really. Like they were married to them, they know. So if they say that if my current partner's ex says that my current partner was an asshole, they probably acted like an asshole, truth. right, you think however you thought about your ex is probably true, right? So however your partner's ex thinks about them is probably true. That's not to say they can't grow and learn, but if you're with somebody who can't grow and learn and says that everything that their ex thinks is wrong, that's terrible. And also there's going to be ongoing conflict with the ex, which just on a practical level is going to be stressful. So anyway, those are the major red flags for when you're getting into a second marriage. I hope that you found it instructive. Getting into a second marriage can be very fulfilling. Obviously, y'all know I'm in my second marriage myself, and it's actually my dating anniversary today if you follow me on social media, but I post these later on. But anyway, the anniversary of when we started dating, which we celebrate in addition to the wedding anniversary. But anyway, a second marriage can be great. You just got to look out for these things. And basically, they can all be summarized by, is this a mature person? If you're trying to be a more mature person by listening to my podcast and other things, if you have engaged in self-growth and introspection, and self-reflection, has this person? Because if not, and if you don't have basic values level compatibility. And by the way, even just having those discussions means you're somebody who can introspect. Some people will just be like, nah, you're wrong about that. And that is such a red flag. Black and white thinking, closed-mindedness, inability to self-assess. This is shit you do not need in your second marriage. You just don't. You should not be driven just by your genitals in the second marriage. No. You've learned about the honeymoon stage. Do not let it fuck you. All right. I will talk to y'all soon. I hope you enjoyed this and keep listening to the Dr. Psych Mom Show. Bye-bye.